Hey guys, it's swag night. Okay, we have notes stuff. This is serious stuff. We're not messing around. We got stuff to do, right? We need to rock the world and have conscious impact, right? We got this. No problem. All right, so a quick review, because you know that's how we learn is repetition. So this is week 5. Okay, WAG 5 out of 10. My gosh, halfway there. Clink to our tea or whatever you're drinking. Okay, so the first week introduction, we talked about brain priming. Okay. Brain priming is how we get ourselves ready to see new possibilities, how we find energy to make change, because otherwise we're just tired and we don't have any gumption, is the word I just heard recently. We don't have any energy or gumption to make anything happen, right? So priming is super important to actually do before we want to make some big moves, right? Or even to dream, we better prime first. Because if we want our brain to be creative and ready to go and think of interesting associations and come up and be innovative, we have to prime, right? Okay. So that's week 1, priming and intro. Week 2 is envisioning, taking time to take a deep breath. What could be? What are possibilities, right? And not how we would get them done, but our what are our dreams? What do we wish for? What's the craziest idea that you have, right? Because that's okay to let your brain go and let it dream a little bit, all right? And just, or before you go to sleep tonight, just say, hey, subconscious, go nuts. Like when I wake up in the morning, just come up with this list of things. It's like, huh, really new ideas, okay? And so then this the third week again, we're checking in on the dreams and taking time to envision together because we want to see it like a play, right? And so we can't just like click our fingers and see our dreams. We have to give ourselves permission. But of course, first, like we always say, brain prime first, and then we get our brain into that creative state. Okay, so that's week 3. 4 was a check-in. So when we check in, we want to know how's it going? How was your week? What's going on? How are your values going? Are they guiding your actions? Yes, they are, whether you know it or not. So what are your current values? How was your week? What are the high points? What are the low points? What are the roses and the thorns? What are the good and the bad of your week? And that's okay, just to process it, to think about it, to think of the emotions. What were the emotions like throughout the week? Because they come and go and they float by like clouds, hopefully. So, or sometimes they stay with you. So emotions, so just know them. We just have to assess them first, right? For emotional intelligence, the first step is just assessing. And why do we have to even worry about our dumb, stupid emotions, right? Because our emotional level will determine our creativity level, our productivity, how we interact with others. So it has a huge effect. And if you're a leader of a team, you're a leader, you lead a family, you lead a community, you lead anyone. Your emotions will determine how well people trust you, follow you, and what their emotions are eventually, because it's all contagious, right? It's amazing. Okay, so then we do our check-in. What did you accomplish this week? You said you had certain tactics you were going to get done just this week. How did it go? Did it happen? Did you do 1 out of 3, 1 out of 1, 0 out of 3? And then why? What were the barriers? And just think about that. What were the barriers? And that's okay to think about the barriers and name them. I was tired. I was stressed. I sat on my phone too long. Like, what was happening? Things were going on in the family. What was going on? That's okay to think about that. And then the goals for the upcoming week. So I love the book, The 12-Week Year. Highly recommend because it sets up 12 weeks and treat it like a year. Just call it a year because we have a lot of enthusiasm to get things done in a year. But a year is so long in reality that a lot of times by the time we hit month 4 or 5, we don't even remember what the goals are. We don't remember the details. So that's why it's good to stay on top of the goals, right? And then so this time we're actually going to draft the vision and write it down, and we're going to go over some things about that. Okay. And then we're going to set our tactics in week 7 to hit our goals. So each week, a tactic. So that's the thing you do to hit your goal, which will bring you up to your vision. Okay, so it's a cycle. We're always getting closer to our vision by doing these tactics, which get us closer to our goals, closer to the vision. Okay, the dream, the envisioning, the optimal situation. Okay, all right. And then yes, we're gonna again in 8, it's a check-in, and we're gonna brain prime again. Just remind you that it's important if we want to hit those tactics to go back and check our brain prime list. So did we add some fun this week? Are we taking time to fine tune our energy, which means we're taking small, like micro breaks in our workday, and we're taking micro breaks to take a deep breath, to feel gratitude, to think of somebody that helped us. We just try to get those positive emotions flowing because, again, it helps our productivity, helps us get our work done, and it gives us that rebalance in the middle of the day. Okay, it's highly recommended by Dr. Boyatzis, who wrote many books. One of them is The Resonant Leader. So check it out if you need to read the book or read the articles. I got you. I love sharing resources. Okay. So as we check in, again, we want to know the barriers to our goals. We want to set tactics for the upcoming 7 days. And, we want to predict our barriers because, again, you could get your subconscious thinking, like, how am I going to get around those barriers? I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm lonely. I'm too busy at work. I don't have the resources. Just get them out there. What is your brain telling you of why you're not going to get these things done? Just get it out there. And then we check the facts. What is real on all of those concerns, right? And then we will share our wins and challenges. And then week 9, again, we're going to see the link between the vision, the goals, the tactics, see where we are. Because every week we're making a little bit of gain, right? And that's courage. So every time we do something new, we're learning. There are neurostructural changes where there's more, neurotransmitters being released. And then eventually, if we do it enough, there are actually structural changes. But the connection between the nerves can change with repetition. So that's why we do this, repeating this, right? It's just all for our beautiful brains between our ears. Okay, so let's go. So, all right. So the wonderful book, which I love, is The 12-Week Year. There's also, we have to think about the systems we want to put into place to succeed. Okay, I'm going to keep this close to 20 minutes so we can go do what matters to us, right? So we want to say like those affirmation phrases, but we want to talk about our goals like we already hit them, right? So I own a company called Brain Fresh. So I say Brain Fresh is serving millions and supporting them in their professional growth with joy and meaning to leave an impact in their community. So I keep saying like what already happened because it helps me kind of think of what that could look like and what that could mean. It gets me moving forward, right? So that's also something to think about when you set a goal is to say it out loud to yourself, um, like it already happened. Okay. Or write it down and read it. That's what I've been doing, which is really neat and it's recommended. Okay. And I also believe that everyone deserves a joyful vitality through work, and vitality is growing. So growing and learning. So here we are again. Cheers to growing and learning. Okay. And I also think it's important to think about our legacy. What are we leaving in our community, in our families, in our, if you're a church member or you're a volunteer somewhere in your communities or in your work or, through your people that you know or love, what are we leaving? If we were not here, what would they say about us? What did we change with our lives? So that's something to think about. What are you leaving? What's your legacy? It's important to think about. If there's something important to you, like the time is now. If you want to leave behind the legacy that I enjoy each day, I relax, I'm with my family, I'm not running around. Hey, that's great. Teach them how to do that, right? Absolutely. Okay, so I've set out my goals. What I want is I made a list of things that I would like, and we'll do this together when we envision, but I'll give you an update, a little preview. I listed what I want in year 1, in year 3, and year 5 for me personally, what it could look like, who's there, what's going on, so that's what I want to have very clear because I have a vision of what it could look like soon in a year and 3 years and 5 years. And I see it because I wrote it down like a play. Okay. And I know what I want. Okay. So we want to do this conscious planning. We don't want to just let life happen. And then after 30 years, say like, what just happened? I don't even know. It wasn't even intentional. It just kind of rolled. And some days are like that, right? But we want to make sure we're consciously putting into our lives what's important to us, right? So we want to think about our conscious planning and then think about how we can execute it. So we break it down into super small little goals so that we can make it manageable, and we can complete little parts at a time. So if you have a big vision to move to a whole new state and do something new and build a new business and start an art company or whatever buy a barn where you can do art like I want to. we have to break it down into small, just like if you think of it like if you're crossing a river, and in order to get across the river, it would be you can hardly see the other side, but you could get across if you had little stones all the way around, all the way across. So the way we set our weekly tactics are the little stones to get us across the river. Okay. We think one big leap. I don't think I'm going to make it, but we break it down. We can make it, right? So that's what we do in this program in WAG. We break it down into little stones that we can cross the river with peace and fun and just hop along, right? Okay. So we want a clear view of our success. So if you want to get a piece of paper this week and just write down, what does success look like for you? This is all about you. This is what you want. And then we assign, who's going to do what part of this. If it's all us, if we're our only team, then we're doing it, right? If you have someone on your team or somebody at work or somebody that can help you with some of these, or you want to hire like a virtual assistant, I could tell you how to do that in Upworks. Yeah, so we can do all that. We don't have to do every little part, but we can have plans, right? We can set the stones, but we don't have to do all the work, right? Okay, so we want to think about our resources that we need to get this done. Okay. And then our timeline. What is our timeline? We want to do it in 2 months, 3 months. We want to do something this week. In WAG, we have weekly goals. We have goals and we have weekly tactics. So we're doing one thing a week at least. Sometimes people have time to do more than one thing, which is great. Sometimes not. That's okay. And if you didn't do it, that's fine. We just have to, at the end of the week, say like, what were the barriers? Why didn't I do it? What got in the way? And all of that is fine. And so then we want to set the timeline. What are the major milestones? Display the timeline for us, have clarity on who's committed to do what, right? And then we want to write down, if we have a team, we want to give the team their top 5 priorities. And then personally, what are their personal priorities? They have a sheet with that on there. So they know what they're focusing on as a human and as well as a team member, right? On a developmental plan, because we always should be learning and growing. When we set goals and we're pursuing goals, that is when we feel happier, according to one of my books that I always keep close. Not my book, but one of my favorite books I like to read, The Myths of Happiness. Dr. Lubomirsky, she said, when we are pursuing a goal, we're most happy, not when we hit it, but when we pursue it. So that's a good one to know, right? Okay. And then we do our weekly check-ins like we've been doing. And we want to drive a culture of learning and developmental, development for you for conscious impact, because there's a lot of challenges in this world that want you at your tip top so that you can use all your gifts, right? Okay. So, all right. So in this 12-week year, they remind us that we are distracted, we are stressed, we're burned out, we're frustrated, we feel disconnected sometimes. And we don't always give our full attention to things that are really important to us. It's just more like squirrel, like something that goes by and that gets our full attention rather than having our own, like driving it ourselves, right? So the most effective way to be is to be present in the moment, right? And that's that mindfulness that we hear about. We want to give ourselves grace and have ease and be connected with the now, for it to be enjoyable. Like that's a big goal of mine and a value of mine, to have joy in this journey. I don't understand why we wouldn't, right? And life is the moment. This is the moment, so we can't wear out today before it even starts, as a quote I heard recently. So we want to think about greatness, and greatness isn't really the result, but greatness is choosing to do the things that need to be done. So it's a choice, really interestingly, is what they remind us in this book, is that greatness is a choice. My notes up here so I can see better. Okay. And so, before the results, we are great because we are choosing to stay active. So that's how they suggest greatness is that it's action-based and it's choosing to, turn off the TV and get something done, or not sit on the phone for 4 hours. Some people do 6 hours. Okay. So, and to break it down into small actions each week, just like let's say an Olympian in training would do. I mean, they would not just be like, maybe I'll work out next month. They would do something every day. Each week would have a plan. It would be very drilled down because they have a goal, right? And that's what greatness is. Greatness is the choice to do the things that they need to do, that you need to do. before the results come along. So that's what they suggest greatness is, which is interesting, right? And that you're capable. You feel capable when you start to get things done. So you want to do more things and you commit. So consistency, discipline, and it's a decision, right? So we decide that, yeah, this is important to us. Okay. And then they talked about intentional imbalance. That's why I'm doing my imbalance dance. There's an intentional imbalance between this work-life balance, community service, obligations in the family, life, health. It's not like everything is always even. Like I didn't have as much family time in every day as I did work time, as I did like my couple time. It was never always even. And even today, it's not always even every day, right? And so there's an intentional imbalance. Like the work week, I have more work time, of course. I have less family time, less time with my husband during the work week. Not that I have zero because I just had dinner with him, but I just have less time. Um, but on the weekend, I have more time to catch up with family and friends, more time with nature, and some days during the week, I have time for exercise and nature and my dog, who's right here. Okay. So there's an intentional imbalance. I heard these speakers talk about the polarity of it, that we're between work and our personhood or work and home. There's a polarity where it swings back and forth between the two, but it's never even Steven, right? Okay. And then we want to think as well, if we're starting to vision our optimal state, we want to think about these spheres of our lives, right? So our spiritual, our spouse, partner, um, family, community, personal, business, physical. So how are those? You can rate them between 1 and 10 is what they suggest. And then you want to just think like, what needs some attention there? Are there any of those that I'm avoiding? So that's 1 to 10. 10's the best. 10's a 10 out of 10. So those are the visions of work life balance. So those are the components between our work and our life, our work and personal. I never like work life because I'm living at work. So I don't think that's like an either or. So anyway, I'll say it again: spiritual, spouse or partner, family, community, personal, business, physical. I'm sure there's different ways to break it down, but that's how they break it down in this book. Okay, so fundamentals of execution, high performance in both personal and business. You need discipline and you need principles. So in discipline, you want to set a vision, you want to plan, you want to set the process control, like how are you going to stay with it, right? How are you going to measure? So every week we've been doing that in WAG. It's like how many goals, how many tactics did you hit? 0 out of 1, 0 out of 3, 2 out of 3. It's okay to give yourself a number. Okay. And then the time use. How are we using our time? So those are the disciplines of high execution according to the 12-week the 12-week year book. Okay, and then the principles, there's accountability because we have freedom. We can do it. We're accountable to ourselves. We're not accountable to other people. We're accountable to ourselves. If we said we do it, we'll do it. Okay, and we have commitment. That's a promise to ourselves. And greatness in the moment, again, is consistency, sticking with it. Okay, it's a choice. So that's what they say, the fundamentals of execution, where you have those disciplines and you have those principles. Okay, and they really said that 12-week year is an operation system, right? So it's a way that you can get things into place. You have less chaos, less how to, less, and then you get insight and you have tools, you know? So, and they also, so this is interesting, and then we'll end on this one, but there are emotions when we change and when we grow. Okay. So they reviewed one research study that called the emotional cycle of change, and it was by Kelly and Connor. So they said these are the typical cycles that we go through when we're changing. So we have uninformed optimism, where we see all the benefits, but we don't see any of the costs. Do you feel like you're there? Uninformed optimism. I think I've been there. Okay, number 2, informed pessimism, where you see the costs and it's hard to see the benefits. You've kind of switched on that. And then there's the middle where it's called Valley of Despair. And most give up here. Okay, so you've gone through uninformed optimism, informed pessimism to the Valley of Despair. And there's where most people leave. If you give up, because you need a vision. If you usually give up if you don't have that vision leading you, right? Because there's emotions with the vision. So you need to stay with it and to track it in order for it to happen, right? You need process control because process control will lead us. Because there's days you don't feel like doing it, right? And so the process control are the systems that you have into place that say, I'm gonna hit that tactic this week. Like I have this binder. I'm reading out of a binder. Um, and I have weekly goals according to my vision, which I broke down into goals, which now I have weekly tactics that I'm doing a few things each week towards my goals. And this is 12 weeks that I'm doing them. Okay. So it's exciting because then I think, oh, I only have to do 2 things a week. I usually gave about 2 things a week. Okay. So we're going through the emotional cycle of change, uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, valley of despair. Most people leave, but if you have that process control there where you have a way that you have a system, then you don't have to worry if you feel like it or not feel like it, excuse me, you're just going to do things, right? And then the number 4 is informed optimism. So there, you know that process control is going to lead you. So you're informed and you're optimistic that you can get it done, right? Because now you have a system into place. And then the last one is success and fulfillment. It feels good to hit goals, right? And what are the benefits? So you see the benefits, you have less cost because you put a system into place. You have new actions as your routine, so that your success means your new things are just routine. They don't take so much energy and so many emotions, right? You build your capacity, you build your confidence, is what they suggest. And when the new actions become routine, it takes less energy, which is really neat. Okay. So there's a great quote they reviewed, which is, "If you think you can or you can't, you're right." That's by Henry Ford. Okay. So vision is, they were saying, like a rebirth, like a flowering, a blooming. I like to think of that lotus flower. I have that in a lot of my Brain Fresh stuff because I love that flower. It's very beautiful and it's floating in water, which I also love. And it's floating in muddy water and it's beautiful. So I also love that image. But true success is setting a vision and then seeing the outcome of the vision. Okay. Personal aspirations, professional dreams, creating joy, creativity, connections, a beautiful life, right? True greatness is uncomfortable, and it's where the impossible becomes the possible. Okay, so I am going to leave you there. The impossible can be possible, and that's why we do this WAG system, because we learned systems to put into place. In the book, The 12-Week Year, they call them um, the process control. So it means like it's not a choice. We set up a system, we're going to stick with the system because we committed to it, right? And then we grow our capability and our confidence, which is really neat. Okay, so just so you know, you're growing your capability and your confidence. So proud of you. All right, keep going, keep kicking, keep going and setting those the goals and the tactics. So set something for this week. All right, and I'll see you next time. Okay, proud of you. See ya. Bye.